Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cheat Codes. I'm your host, TaSh Elzie from Women in Games International, and today's conversation is something that I'm really looking forward to having. We're talking about finding your path in product and what it means to build with trust and safety at the center, and what indie developers can actually do right now to create safer spaces for their players. My guest today started as a technical product manager at EA, where she worked on platform technologies used by over 90% of their games. She went on to build products from zero to one at Take-Two Interactive across titles like Civilization 4 and Kerbal Space Program, and she's now the group PM at KID, and that's a company focused on safety infrastructure for kids in digital spaces, which is so important. She's also a speaker and a board member at Art Bias, a nonprofit supporting artists in the Bay Area. Please welcome Rupali Sharma. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Tash, for having me. It's been such a great pleasure. And yeah, I'm so glad I'm here.
Will you please let our guests know a little bit about yourself?
Totally. Thank you so much for a great introduction. Hi, everyone. I am Rupali. I am a group manager, group product manager, and a product lead at KID, which is a Series A startup and where we're building and solving for trust and safety of kids and youth and making sure that we are really making online experiences safer for the younger generation, which is very, very digital native itself. Um, as Dash mentioned, I started being an engineer, and that's where I started my professional journey. And over time, I found my own signals and figured out that I love product, and that's why I made a leap of faith. And it's been great. I've been enjoying the path that I'm on, and I'm looking forward to all the great things to build.
That's I love that. So your career, you've moved through so many different contexts in your career, but essentially one through line. So can you outline like what that through line looked like as you took it from where you started to where you are now?
Sure. So I mean, I literally when I started my journey, I'll go all the way back to my engineering college. Um, I was one of the first one in my entire family to go to an engineering college, and that was a big shift because I mean, yes, I was proud of it, but also when I look around, there was nobody to mentor, and I didn't have anybody to look around and ask, how do I really see the path that I'm on? So that's where I started. I found my love with software in general, started programming, and when I landed my first job, that's when I was like, it is so cool to build things for people. It is so amazing when we are building a software, building a product, and then it goes into the hands of people. And that feeling is beyond words. That was just most of me for me, added like an addiction. And then I just started working on different products as my journey grew. And here I am, taking my own leap and jumping from actually building to being on more on the product side, where now I am able to attach the product to its business impact.
Awesome. So you started as a technical PM, which kind of puts you right at the intersection of engineering and product, just very early on. So from someone who started in engineering, as you outlined, but to when you were pulled towards product, what is that like? Like, say for instance, if I am in engineering, what should I look for in myself if I'm considering product?
Totally. I mean, first of all, I would start with by saying that every function in an organization has its core skill, and that defines that function, right? So, engineering, when we look at it, it is an incredibly deep and intense function. Um, think about the attention to the detail, edge cases, unhappy paths, like things that most of us don't even think about in everyday life. And that's a superpower. I really respect and really mean that. There are a few selected, which is where I started to get my own signal, where there's like an additional superpower, the ability to be able to really fluidly navigate between the details and the big picture. And it's not just the ability to navigate, it's also to be able to genuinely enjoy that and love that, like feeling energized with the bigger picture as well. The analogy that I really love is, think about an animal which is standing in front of you and it's the size of San Francisco City. And then everybody is seeing a part of the animal, like somebody has a leg, somebody has a trunk. And most of the people will process that there's something in front of them. But the ability to be able to mentally stitch the pieces together and say, that's an elephant. That is the ability to be able to simulate, like, okay, I have some partial information. How can I put the wholesome picture together? And that's a product instinct. And that's where I figured out for myself that I wanted to really move into that space and use my product instincts to be able to build products. Again, my journey was, it was not as simple as that one day I woke up and did that. It was a lot of talking to different people from different
Yeah.
functions. No kidding, I actually talked to 100 people, like maybe more than 100
Really?
people. Yeah,
Why did you
because
talk to so many?
make sure it was more like the way I describe it was like a midlife crisis, that I
Ah,
was enjoying and loving what I'm doing as an engineer. But at the same time, I had this question, is this something that I really wanted to do for the rest of my life? And the answer was no. So it's like, what is that I want to do? Because I'm not young anymore and I
yes.
can't just like try things and get there. So I really wanted, and I had an amazing circle at that time. It was like I was talking to, for example, all the product leadership, I was talking to marketing, I talked to finance as well. I talked to developer relations. There was like a lot, many different functions, especially in the video gaming. The layers are quite a lot. So I was literally reaching out to everybody that I knew. And I was like, what does this day look like? What do you
That
do?
that is such an engineering instinct to check and recheck.
Yes, exactly. And that's how I figure out that it's the product instinct, it's the love of building things, and also the love to create business impact. That's what I was chasing essentially. And it's not just about, as sometimes we are really getting excited by there's a Kool-Aid about, technically elegant things, but really making things that move a metric or which expands users, and like that love is the foundation which I found.
What do you think a common misconception is about product? Like maybe about the day to day or about the actual interactions on the team?
That's a very interesting question. I would, I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but it is absolutely true that product role is different in different organizations, depending on the
Mm.
product needs, depending on the organization needs. I would definitely say one misconception that I still sometimes see is that some people think that product job is to come up with ideas. You know, I and I don't believe that that is true. I think it is it is a limiting mental model. Great ideas can come from anyone. It could be a customer, it could be a frustrated engineer, it could be anyone just you talking to offhand. And, in this conversation, I might get a great idea from you. The product person's job is more about really taking that raw idea, think about it as a mineral which needs to be chiseled and needs to be polished, and really make sure that build something which is driving the business forward. that's the role of the product person. So yes, but I do see some people think that the role of the product person is to come up with many ideas and make it happen.
I feel like my gut instinct is when I'm on a team, if there's something I want to see happen, I usually reach out to product to ask who to talk to because I feel like they would know, right?
Yes, I mean, product is definitely positioned most of the time in a way where they can see the big picture. So, as part of the big picture, we can see where's the influence lies, where's the gap, where is, where's sometimes where things shift and how things move. So, I mean, you're doing the right thing, talking and asking the product person to talk, like, tell me who should I talk to?
It's through product that I will essentially meet everyone within an organization.
Exactly, exactly.
I love this. So also pivoting to trust and safety. It gets talked about a lot, but it's usually treated like a compliance problem. It's not necessarily treated like a building problem, like what you would weave into what you were constructed. So from your position, what does that look like when a team gets it right?
So, I mean, before I go there, I want to give a little bit context on what KID and what we're building at KID essentially. It's a compliance platform, and as I mentioned, our mission is to mainly have online services. Literally, think about having online platforms, giving the tools to be able to make the online services and experiences safer for kids and young people. And it literally starts with like one basic question: how old are you? All I need to know is an age, right? So that's where you start thinking about and making some intelligent decisions about what shouldn't be an experience for a 12-year-old, what should be an experience for a 14-year-old, and what
Right.
is a 21-year-old is coming there for. So the goal is not to really restrict or exclude younger people and younger users. If you think about it, it's basically empowering them because we are building age appropriate experiences for them. For the longest time, I mean, it is ironic that internet has been built and it's not built for kids right now. It's
Right.
totally not built for kids. It is, there's so many things out there, things that they should not be exposed to. And most of all, internet has been teaching a lot of people just to lie because most of the time there's a checkbox saying, I am above 13 years. And all I have to do is just do the checkbox and go ahead. So that is so easy to bypass. When you ask kids, when you talk to kids, like what are they for? They're not coming from a mindset of like, oh, am I going to a safe place or am I going to a space where I can trust? They just want to have fun. They want to have fun with their friends. They want to play games and they want to have a good time playing games
Yeah.
with their friends. That's what they're for. And then it becomes a responsibility of the platform or the game to make sure that give them what they want, give them a safe space so that they can play and just have a good time. So I think like that's the answer. Like, really not, if you get the compliance right, if you start thinking about your audience, if it is either young kids or mixed audience, whoever your audience be, and you start thinking about what an age appropriate experience will look like, that is the right safety bolts that we need. And it's then we don't have to really block minors in any country. We don't have to really think about what will I do in Indonesia or what will I do in Korea, or a new law has passed, now I have to block everybody who is under 13 or have them to lie. it's really building the foundation which now scales because you are allowing everybody to get in. So essentially, like, when you're starting thinking about the compliance and you're starting thinking about the age appropriate experience, you basically thinking about how to scale and how to maximize your user base. And especially in the world right now that we are in, AI is expanding. There's an outburst of AI tools. And
Yeah,
most of us don't even know how to use AI correctly when it is
true.
in a product. Think about the young kids. They're just getting exploded with what is being given to them. So there's the stakes for the AI interactions is definitely high, and we really need to make sure that we give the right level of maturity for them. We give them the right tools, involve parents where they're needed, and give them the right experience based on. So literally it starts with that one question, like, how old are you?
Yeah. And that is a very important question because it does guide your experience. And it's also true that the decisions that you make early around what's age appropriate really inform the dynamics of what you're building. So, what do you think that people kind of underestimate the most as they consider this?
um I reframe it a little bit. I don't want to say that people or these developers are trying to underestimate
Right.
what is needed the most. I just genuinely think that until now there wasn't any easy solution out there
Mm,
for them. Like, if I go globally out there, the age of digital consent is different in sometimes it's 13, sometimes it's 14, sometimes it's 12. And then loot boxes are completely not allowed, prohibited somewhere, but somewhere there's a parental consent involved. So the landscape is so complicated, and especially this regulatory landscape is so, so complicated. And I'm saying because I've been on the other side of the table, I have built COPA compliance in video games. And when we're actually building video games, it's this complex situation where things are contradicting themselves. Now we have to build some experiences based on different laws in different countries. For me, like, if I think about it, the path to least resistance is what? Pick up the strictest country and build an experience according to that. Because it's easy.
true.
It takes
Yeah.
me out of the risk, the compliance risk, and then I that's what I get in my experience itself, which is most of the time blocking underage users, or however that conservative experience may look like. So, but then that there's a problem there because as a business now I will be losing a lot of these players, or if I don't do that, I'm at the compliance risk. So what we have at KID essentially, which is exactly solving the problem in a very easy way, is the brainchild of our CEO and co-founder, Karen, which literally cuts this complexity. Is an engine. It's a rule engine which has all these laws, and it tells in which country, what age you need to do what, where the parental controls needs to kick in, and everything is built into this engine which is constantly updating and evolving itself. So now we have a one step solution for everybody to be able to take that. It's almost like a subscription, like,
Yeah.
you take that subscription, it's constantly updating itself. I don't have to worry about it. All I need to give it is like give the age of the user, give which country am I on, and then it tells me what experiences should be enabled and not enabled for this user. So I think that's where I feel like there is a lot of potential now for a lot of these games and online experiences to be able to take in. But until now, it's a very complicated space. It's a super, super complicated space where a lot of teams and video game developers are struggling to get and cut through.
That makes sense to have it I mean, we don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel, right? If we know what exists and we know what's out there, and it seems like it's a better to put this in on the ground floor to even understand what compliance looks like from day one. It sounds like a big product, a big lift, but it's so much bigger on the other end if you haven't considered this.
Exactly. And like if you think about it, I mean, it is much easier to do it from the get-go than retrofitting into like I would say retrofitting it could be expensive and it could look incomplete because now you're making some corner choices around maybe this feature will need more work, so we might not disable it for kids or like, all of the decisions that you're making right now, it's much easier to do it from the beginning rather than trying to retrofit. So there's a cost attached to it.
Pivoting to indie games, most indie developers may not have the resources to have like dedicated trust and safety. So if I'm an indie developer and I really want to build responsibly, where do I start?
It is interesting because and it's a very good question because most of the indie devs I right now, they they're in a space where they might not have a legal team or they might not have the right toolings. Yes, they have a bigger goal on making the game design to work for everybody. So it's definitely a it's not an easy problem to solve. Let me say that. Like it's a tough situation to be in. Um, I would like to add that because we at KID, we work with all the different sizes of the businesses. Like that is another good thing about us that right now, because it is solving problems for everybody, we are working with large corporations and we are working with really small indie devs. And we're also working with really the new emerging platforms as well, which are bringing something new, which has never been there before. So it is literally for everybody. And the real advantage is that we have a lot of legal in-house expertise, which is built into the products. So I don't want to like plug a tool, but essentially like right now, what one of the very cool piece that we have is it's called Nemo, and it's basically a tool. It's an intelligence layer that you can ask questions, and it's telling you what law is already there, what is existing, what is surfacing, what is coming, and how does it really impact the product that you have. So it's literally like a one-stop tool for, and it's an extraordinary resource for anybody to be able to use that and understand the landscape itself. So I mean, it's a hard question. There's definitely limitations. However, I do want to keep encouraging and promoting that the shift of thinking about safety and compliance is the right way to do it. We don't have to think about it as a feature that, oh, once we get to 100,000 users, then we will think about it. It needs to be something, it needs to be part of the core game loop. It needs to be part of the design itself. And that is what will actually make that not just make it compliant, but it will make the game successful because now you're making kids happy, you're giving them whatever they want to enjoy with their friends and play games and have fun, but at the same time you're giving the abundance of all these experiences to the adults as well. So it's an essential part. And one guidance or one thing that we work with a lot of indie studios is to start small. Like you don't have to go all out, just start small. Start with, we have this like crawl, walk, run strategy is like start with one country or start with just one feature or start with just asking your age and telling them they need parental consent, and that's it. Where you start small and then you can scale from there. You can really grow it to be a lot more age appropriate.
I would like to take also that one step further for any indie devs who are listening to not just think of this as part of the core game loop, but as you're building communities around product, it's
Mm-hmm.
important to consider who your audience is because it is also your responsibility to protect them in your community spaces. And I feel like as someone who's been a community manager for many years, this is also an afterthought. And I've seen some incredibly harmful spaces that are not only harmful for the people in those spaces, but harmful for team members who have to moderate in these spaces as an afterthought because safety wasn't built into the DNA of the community either.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, the whole space of especially the community boards and user generated content, like whenever we give that content to come from everybody else, there needs to be a layer of moderation. And that is also where we need to be a lot more careful and build those filters, which is actually assessing the maturity level and giving the right filters to the right audience based on their age.
Thank you. That's very well said. I love to know this is something that WIGI is known for. They love asking, we love asking, what's something you wish you knew when you started?
Uh, I mean, there's definitely a lot of learnings as we go, and I definitely want to call myself as an experiential learner, and the learning never stops. One thing to to really, if I have to give that advice to my younger self, and this is something which I'm also processing, so I'm evolving and reflecting a lot on, is um, when we think about learning environments, there are kinder learning environments. Think about everybody's giving you feedback, you've been adaptive, and you get feedback, you assess yourself and you learn. That's a kind learning environment. And there's a wicked learning environment. And what is a wicked learning environment? It is essentially you're doing things and you just figure out that something went wrong and you see the signals and you're trying to second guess yourself. And especially as a woman in a leadership role, it is a genuinely confusing experience because there's so many layers that we are trying to cut through. Is it more about, is this a learning opportunity for me? Or is it mostly because I am experiencing something because, somebody just said it in a better way? Or is it something that I felt like, oh, maybe that felt like a punishment because I didn't get any feedback 6 months ago on something that had should have led to better results. So there is a wicked learning environment, and I wish I knew that earlier. And it's not a bad environment to learn. It's just this setting the right expectations of this is how you're gonna read signals, and this is how you want to grow yourself, and this is how you want to make sure that sometimes you have to pull the signals. It's not gonna come to you as such. And how do you work with different people and essentially like finding a tribe and finding a sponsor, really pulling yourself up and making sure that we are working with and talking to the right people to understand and grow on the right aspects. So that's how I would describe a wicked learning culture. Nothing wicked about it, but it is what it is, and it is somehow it happens quite a lot at leadership positions. It happened quite a lot in product essentially, and we I wish I just knew it earlier so that I didn't have to learn it the hard way.
It's, oh, that is so well said. Just recognizing where you are when you're in it is so much of a game changer.
Yes.
Oh gosh, if I need to go back in time and tell myself that, hey, you're not where you think you are right now, so you
Yeah.
got to figure it out.
Gotta figure it out. You need to read your own signals and be careful you're
Yes.
not second guessing yourselves and not going into a bad loop where you're just blaming yourself for everything.
Oh, oh, I need to hear that.
Yeah. Gotta, yeah. There's a lot that comes with life experiences, and I feel like, when I'm grateful to have what you have built with the women in games. I think this is amazing because this is so well needed, and it gives a tribe and it gives a way to share experiences and make sure we are filtering the right signals from the wrong.
Thank you. And thank you for being the person that you needed when you were starting out, for seeing a need and for that and stepping up to not only lead with kindness, but a knowledge and a responsibility.
Totally, totally. Sorry, you got to cut off a little bit. So,
Sorry about that.
yeah.
But thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I think that the thread of what you're doing, the thread of who you are, is evident in every stage of your career, and I admire you greatly. So
Thank you
I
so much.
thank so we where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yes, I am very active on LinkedIn. So that is the best place to find me. And yeah, I mean, they can message me, they can follow me, and I would love to share what I have.
Thank you. We will put that information in the show notes for anyone who's interested. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Cheat Codes. To stay connected with Women in Games International, you can find us at getwiggy.com or you can find us on all social media platforms at getwiggy. Take care, everyone, and we will chat soon.
Thank you so much.